All right, everybody, welcome back to the #1 television program in the history of the entire universe. I am Brian Lee Durfee, author of The Forgetting Moon, The Blackest Heart, and The Lonesome Crown, all three books published by Simon & Schuster's Saga Press. Today I'm going to be reviewing Death's Door by James R. Benn. This is book number 7 in his Billy Boyle World War II mystery series. I've read and reviewed the first 6 books in the series. In fact, I have the entire series. We'll just pan through my library here. I have the entire series right there. Those are all of them. So I think there's 20, maybe 20 books in the series at this point, and we are to 7. It's a great series. It's a great series about, it's kind of like each book is sort of a behind the lines mystery to be solved, a mystery, a murder mystery or something to be solved behind the lines from little known. And then you get little known facets of World War II history thrown into the books. So let's talk about the cover first before we get into too much more of the book. I love graphic design and cover illustration. Each one of these has a cover painted by Daniel Cosgrove. I love these covers. I love every one of them. They all have the same cover artist, the same sort of theme with the font, and then the spines all look really sharp. So good job there. Now, Billy Boyle, who is he and why are we reading about him and his World War II adventures? He's a World War II as an Army police. He started out as a Boston police officer, joined the Army during World War II, ended up getting deployed to Europe. He's a cousin, a distant relation of Dwight D. Eisenhower, and Eisenhower knows who he is and has given him a special task to be the guy. At the drop of a hat, you take my phone call. If there's something that needs to be investigated, you are the man that's going to investigate it. And so through the first 6 books, of course, he investigated different murders, different little intrigues that were happening throughout Europe during World War II. This one is the same. He's with his friend Kaz. This starts out in 1944, February of 1944, in Brindisi, Italy, which I Googled Brindisi. And whenever there's a place in these books that I don't know about, I Google it. Brindisi just happens to be in the boot heel of Italy, if you know how Italy's shaped like a boot, on the eastern coast. And it's, what I found out about it, it's kind of like the end of the Appian Way, which was this long stone pathway from Rome through Italy, or something like that. I could have got that wrong. But the Appian Way was a big deal back in Caesar's time. Let's just say that. Anyway, so Billy Boyle, he's been through 6 books worth of adventures, solved a bunch of murders and intrigues. He's got his friend Kaz. Now, Kaz is a Polish guy. Kaz and Billy Boyle were dating or in love with 2 sisters, Daphne and Diana. Spoiler alert, Daphne has passed on. She is, she was in the first few books, but something happened. Diana is still around. However, Diana is feared to be captured by the Gestapo, by the Nazis, and possibly being held in a prison in Rome. Now, these guys are in Brindisi, just sort of hiding out, doing their thing. We open up with a scene where they're discussing the Gestapo and some of the torture techniques that the Gestapo was using on people they capture, and the rumors of the prison camps and things like this. And they're also worried about Diana because she's missing, and they think that she might be a captive of the Nazis. And later on, they do find out that she is a captive of the Nazis in Rome, like they suspected. But they are presented with another murder mystery to solve. There's been an American priest named Edward Corrigan who's been murdered in the Vatican at the foot of Death's Door, which just happens to be one of the 5 entrances into St. Peter's Basilica. And so they are sent from Brindisi, Italy, back up into Rome. Now, at the time, Rome is occupied by the Nazis, by the SS, by the Gestapo, by the Third Reich, by everything bad. And so they've got to sneak into Rome, into the Vatican, which is not going to be an easy task. So we get that adventure. Um, we, in fact, this is a book where Kaz and Billy Boyle, they've been in each book, but this is the one where they work together the closest and the most. Kaz is in the adventure for the whole time. Usually in the other books he was kind of in and out, and Diana was in and out, and Daphne was in and out, things like this. But Kaz and Billy Boyle work together throughout this book to suss out this mystery. Who killed the priest at death's door? Well, once they get there, this book is full of a lot of little tidbits of World War II history that happened in and around Rome with the Nazis, the Vatican, the Catholic Church. And these characters, they get together a lot, and they're talking a lot about, fascism versus communism versus Nazism versus the Gestapo versus, with the Third Reich, and how all of those things have sort of played out in Europe, and how all of it affects the country of Italy, particularly the city of Rome, and most in particularly the Vatican City and the Catholic Church, and how, amongst all this, we've got the backdrop of the bombing of Monte Cassino, which was a crazy, Google that, and there's videotape of that. Oh my gosh. When the Americans and when the Allies bombed Monte Cassino, which is a big fortress where, I don't know if it was a fortress. What was it? Some sort of abbey on top of a mountain where the Nazis were hiding out and shooting into the valley. They bombed it. It's just a beautiful place, but got bombed to rubble. It's since been rebuilt. And then there's also the talk of the Allies bombing the castle of Gandolfo, or maybe it was the Germans that were going to bomb Gandolfo. But Gandolfo was very important to the Catholic Church at the time. And we learned a lot about how the Vatican's tenuous position of neutrality, remaining neutral in the war, was always so tenuous, and how the Pope was walking a fine line, and we get into an unknown, but rare, one of the very rare and almost unknown assassination attempts on Hitler, which, I know in that movie Valkyrie with Tom Cruise, we talk about one of the most famous ones, but I guess there was a lot that we don't even really know a lot about. And all of this stuff is tied into this murder at the foot of death's door in the Vatican. And that's kind of the adventure they go on. Now, do they rescue Diana from the Nazi prison? Do they solve the murder? What happens to the Catholic Church during the World War II? All of those things are, some are answered in this book, some are not. Anyway, I like this book quite a bit. I know that I raved about the previous book, number 6. This one, I don't know if I liked quite as much as number 6, but each one of them has been spectacular in its own way. So I'm going to give this a 9 out of 10. Just a really, really good murder mystery set in World War II with a ton of World War II European history behind it.